And we are live. Rena, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you this week?
I'm rocking awesome. This morning, I had my morning run, so that was so refreshing start of the day. And when you start the day with exercise, you
Yeah,
start with different perspective, especially if it's in a fresh air.
exactly.
And it's like the day is rocking fabulous.
No, that's good. I stopped my gym membership about, I'd say 18 months ago, and I
Uh-huh.
just decided I need to get back into it because obviously winter's coming here and I'm not going to go run outside. I need something inside.
Hmm.
And luckily the gym is just across the road from me.
Right.
So I don't have an excuse of not going. So let's see what happens.
No excuses and let's rock it.
Yes.
So, for those who are joining in, my name is Inga Azara. I am a personal branding, leadership development, and business development mentor and business partner. And I help entrepreneurs, business leaders, and professionals to be your personal excellence through HR tools and practices, through leadership development workshops and coaching, and through different kind of interactions, events, and workshops, seminars on making sure that I provide you tools and strategies how to be your personal best, either in your profession, either in your leadership role or in business leadership role. And now,
Mhm.
Rihanna, over to you to introduce
Okay,
yourself.
thank you. So I'm Rehana Jaina from Constantia Consulting. And what I offer to my clients is what I call an HR on tap service. It does what it says on the tin, basically. So I offer HR services to those businesses who do not need a full-time person on site. So they would use me as and when required. But together with that, also I provide coaching to them in terms of HR issues. So, for example, I see it as HR for non-HR managers. Um, and I look at everything from keeping them compliant with employment legislation to including how to motivate, retain, and engage your employees. So, in a nutshell, that is what I provide to my clients.
Fantastic. Fantastic. And the common theme that we have found with you, Rihanna, is how to help managers and how to help business leaders to be
Yes.
better leaders as one avenue how to do it to excel with performance management, with setting the
Mm,
goals, setting the KPIs, having performance conversations, and making sure that people are clear why did they join the company and how can they excel.
exactly. And I mean, as you know, my strap line under my logo for my company is performance through people. And I really believe that any manager is only good as a team that's around them.
Hmm.
And it's looking at in terms of how do you get the best of performance out of your people, because together with them, they will grow your company. If you
Absolutely.
don't have good people around you, your company is not going to grow and flourish. So
Hmm.
that's why I believe performance is a key word. But it's looking at how do you make performance exciting? How do you look at moving away from the traditional way of the way we used to do performance reviews before? Because I think if you think about the traditional way, that's what put people off the moment they think it's performance review time. How
Absolutely.
do you, I know, how do you really make it exciting? And exciting in inverted commas, because you want it to be where people, yourself as your leader or the hiring manager, and as the employee, don't think, ah, it's
Mhm.
another one of those. It's my 6 month review coming up. It's my 12-month review coming up.
Mhm.
You want to change that mindset with regards to that.
Absolutely. It's how to make performance reviews exciting, how to make performance reviews something that both manager and employee, they want to attend and
Mm,
they kind of feel energized even thinking about it and can't wait when it's scheduled and when they can have this conversation.
exactly. So it's
Yeah.
getting people on board, getting them excited to do it as well. And I think we spoke about this in our previous couple of Facebook Lives that we've done already. But it comes back to education. So not only for line managers, but for employees as well. So how do we look at in terms of getting employees educated about what performance management is, that
Mhm.
they part of the process of setting the objectives, because it shouldn't only come from one side. They
Mhm.
should also have input and be able to say, but I think this is what my objective should be for this year, and this is the reason why, and this is how I think you should be measuring me. And
That's
then it becomes a conversation and not only, as I say, a one-way street.
Hmm. And it's about kind of acknowledging and appreciating that employee who has joined your company, the best hire you have had recently joining, or obviously when you're hiring the best, right? So when the people join your team, they join your company, then we need nowadays, and it's not anymore employers market, it's employees market.
Exactly.
So have to be flexible and accommodating what your employee wants to achieve. It's not just about company goals. It's not just about the department goals or your manager's view. It's also what this person, what this experienced professional or junior professional, when they are joining your company, what's their personal motivation? What is their what are their aspirations? What they want to achieve in their career or in their experience nowadays? Younger generation employees, they don't talk about career anymore, they talk about experience. So also appreciating what kind of keywords or concepts would work for your employees who have joined the company, and making sure that it's not one-way street, that it's a dialogue, it's a conversation when they are joining, that you have this onboarding meeting as a manager and you explore what exactly they want to achieve during the next year, 2 years, 3 years within your company, how they want to progress, what they want to learn, what they want to experience, and then see how it integrates in what you want them to achieve to make sure that business keeps moving and that they achieve the business goals. So it's kind of finding the meeting points between their personal aspirations and the company demands and the company needs.
Exactly. And linked to that is also the responsibility and accountability that you're giving to employees. Because if you think about it, an employee wants to take ownership of their career. They want to take ownership of their career development. So how do I, as a leader, help them to do that? And if I allow them, because that is what it is, allow them to give input into the performance objective setting, I'm giving them accountability and I'm giving them responsibility. Yes. I think, by following the traditional way that we used to do things of setting your objectives and then measuring you in 6 months' time and then measuring you in 12 months' time doesn't work anymore. Exactly. So it becomes a continuous dialogue ultimately at the end of the day, in terms of we set your objectives, let's talk about how we're going to discuss this. And ultimately, if somebody's working on a project for you, they will be giving you feedback on that project on a continuous basis. So that becomes part of that continuous dialogue. That becomes part of what feeds into the performance discussion. So you're already having a performance discussion without even realizing it. And I think what's really good about that is at the same time, people know already what they're doing well. And they know already the areas that they need to focus on to make the project even better. So for me, it's a win-win situation, because together the employee is getting immediate feedback, but you as a leader will be getting immediate feedback as well. And I think it's the other way around as well. Give feedback to your to your line manager or to your leader. Say this is not working. And this is the reason why it's not working. And I propose that we look at doing it this way. What do you think about it?
Yeah. And I think to add to that, I think traditional way, like if you look many years ago, then performance management concept as such has started as with the mindset that employees are lazy, or they need to be told what to do, and they need just to do a piece of work that's kind of given to them, like the workers in the factory. Nowadays, it doesn't work like that, because we don't need anymore people who are doing well, in some businesses we still need these kind of jobs done by people, but soon it will be done by kind of robots and machines, and we will need people who can think and who can be more creative, who can be more flexible than machines are, and who can kind of think on their feet and with unexpected situations. So And we need to change this mindset from kind of old school performance management where we had to tell people what to do and what are their goals, and then think that we will measure performance and we will punish people who are not performing. It's old school and it's boring and it's sad actually.
Exactly.
Nowadays, what we need is kind of more dynamic performance conversations and the mindset that actually people have joined our company to do the best job they can. They want to be the best versions of themselves, and we as managers, as leaders, our role is to help them to be the best version of themselves through performance conversations, as you said, Rihanna, during the kind of day, week, month. It's constant conversation rather than kind of once in half a year judgment conversation that you have done this well and this you haven't done well. So it's a dialogue, it's a conversation, and it's a kind of mindset change from first of all mindset and assumptions that we are as managers we need to change from that people need to be told to people need to be embraced and empowered to be their personal best. And also the performance management concept, mindset change from that it's punishment conversation to it's kind of growth conversation, it's development conversation, recognition conversation, and it's how can we excel together conversation.
Yeah, and I think also for me, it's how am I as a leader empowering you? What's the responsibility I'm giving you? And while, you were talking about the old way that we used to do things and setting these objectives, I'm thinking, why are we calling it objectives? Why don't we call it milestones? Because if you think about it, these are milestones that we have to achieve. So with any project, you've got a project plan. And in your project plan, you've got your milestones. And for your milestones, you've put down certain timelines that you want to achieve things by. And the idea has just come to mind while we've been talking about it now. Why don't we look at performance objectives as project milestones?
That's a fantastic idea. That's absolutely fantastic. And this is what I like really in this kind of conversations and openness and agility, that during the conversation, like you can come up with a new way of doing things, new way of thinking. And also think about manager and employee conversation when it's made kind of for, or it's built for development, then employee can come up with new concepts, new ways new ways of approaching the challenges or serving the customers. So it's also about the environment, how we build it to encourage people and empower them to be creative and, as you mentioned, to take responsibility and see what kind of milestones to set for the next period of time.
Exactly. I think I'm going to change it now going forward. So with all my clients, I'm going to be doing coaching with and helping them setting, the performance reviews. I'm going to tell them, let's change our language. Let's call it project milestones. Because you're still achieving the same thing you want to achieve at the end of the day. It doesn't matter what you call it. But we need to start changing our language. We need to start changing our language to reflect the way things are now and what would excite people more. And I don't know, maybe project milestones don't excite everyone, but then what is it that's going to excite you? So it'd be good to get people's feedback and post it in the comments section for us to let us know, what do you think we should be calling performance objectives if we had to give it another name. For now, I will stick with project milestones until somebody else comes up with something nicer and better on the ear.
Fantastic. I love it. So let's set the challenge for people who are listening to this video. So if you're listening now or you will be listening later on to this conversation, please put in the comments either you like the kind of the language used by Rihanna, coming up with milestones instead of objectives, or is there something else, some other keyword or some other concept that would excite you? I love that word, excitement, as what you mentioned, Rihanna, is really important thing, that the language we use creates or moves us toward particular direction or towards particular feeling. If you use more of excitement language and the words or the concepts that excite us, then immediately we get more excited about it. If we use the language that makes us bored, like objectives, it feels heavy, it feels like boring, it feels old school. Nobody wants to be old school anymore. People want to be in trends, they want to be authentic, they want to be dynamic, innovative.
Exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, let's set a challenge. For those who are listening now or will be listening later, please put in the comments what kind of term would excite you, thinking about the goals or KPIs or objectives or milestones. What are you using now? I'm sure that you have changed the language in your companies already if you feel empowered. So what kind of keywords you are using for that? Or which ones would you encourage us to use instead of objectives?
Exactly. And I think the challenge for you and me going forward, till we get the alternatives, we need to change our language as well. So let's test us in the next Facebook Live. Test us whether we're going back to the old terminology of using performance objectives, or we're using the terminology of project milestones.
I love that. I love challenging ourselves as well. Let's walk the talk.
Exactly, walk the talk. So again, it will get us into the frame of mind of changing our wording and challenge us to remember that, because it takes practice as well. You know, as we spoke about, when you're doing your performance feedback, how do you prepare for that? And again, it takes practice in sitting down and doing your notes and looking at the exact examples you need to provide. So exactly with changing your mindset, changing your language, is just going to take practice. So there are days you will use the incorrect word, but then you catch yourself and you correct yourself. And slowly you're going to create a habit where it's just going to come naturally to you.
That's it. So changing habits, it takes time. So, and what helps is having someone who can say, who can raise the red flag and say,
yeah, exactly.
Your language, you used again the old language, change it. So yes, let's challenge each other to make sure that in the next Facebook Live conversations we use the project milestones or other kind of concept or keyword for objectives.
Exactly. Yeah.
Awesome. And one of the other things that helps to change the mindset of managers, of having more kind of energizing performance reviews and energizing and inspirational performance conversations, is helping them to experience it themselves. Like when for a few clients, I have done workshops for managers on performance management, performance conversations, and we always start with what's in it for me, what's my personal brand, what's my personal impact, what do I want to achieve as manager, and then they experience feedback conversations with their peers. They feel how great it is to hear the feedback, to hear the positive feedback, to hear developmental feedback, and have something to work on, as it helps them with self-awareness. And when they have experienced this themselves through performance management workshop, have said, and actually in several clients' companies, I've got feedback from managers that they want to have their employees experience similar kind of workshop, that feels so great that they want employees to experience that as well. And that comes to what you have started this conversation with, Rihanna, that how not just think from manager's perspective, but also how to educate and how to help employees to have different perspective on performance management and how to feel differently about performance management conversations.
Yeah, exactly. And I think you and I've had this discussion before already, in that where we've mentioned that as managers, we are employees as well. So we tend to have our performance feedback. And we need to remember how it felt when that happened to us, and how we want it to be different for our employees. So I always say, put yourself back in your shoes and then see how you can make it different for employees, besides putting yourself in your employee shoes.
As I'm sure that if you are a manager, if you are a business leader, you want to do the best in your leadership role as well. It's not just achieving business targets.
Exactly.
You cannot achieve business targets just by yourself. You can
Mm.
only achieve them through your team. Yeah, if you have a team, and if you have a team of great professionals who have joined you, then you want to make sure that they become even greater professionals. So one of your leadership kind of tasks is to make sure that you are a great leader, and
Exactly.
that you kind of make people feel great about themselves when they are
Mm.
in your presence, when they are in conversation with you. So that's one of the key things is step in your own shoes. When you had performance
Yes.
conversations with your leader, what did you enjoy, what you didn't enjoy, and make sure that you do the best from your side, that
Mhm.
your employee feels that you're a great leader and you care about them. You care about matching your and company goals with their personal development aspirations and with
Exactly.
what they want to experience. So when they feel this care, then they absolutely feel engaged
Mm.
and they want to contribute their personal best.
Exactly. And I know it sounds very cliched, and I tend to say this a lot, but for me, it is so, so true in that you are only good as a team around you. And for you to shine, you can only shine if your team makes you shine. And I think as leaders, we have to keep that in mind. And it comes back to what Walt Disney once said. I'm probably going to get the saying completely wrong, but it's around the fact of you can create, design, and build the best place in the world, but it takes people to make that dream a reality.
Hmm.
So for any business owner, any company, it's true. To make your organization a reality, you need people in that organization. And
Hmm.
so you need people that are engaged, motivated, wanting to stay, and more importantly, wanting to help you grow the business. They feel invested, that they want to be there and they want to see you make a success out of the business. Because ultimately, if you make a success,
Hmm.
they become successful as well. Because you'd want to reward them for helping you make the business a success. So for me, it's a win-win situation.
Absolutely, it's a win-win situation, and it's not enough just to hire the best professionals from the market. As if you hire the best people, but if you don't guide them, if you don't
Mm,
share vision, if you don't share the strategy, if you don't empower them to achieve what you and the business is aspiring to achieve, then they will feel distracted. They will feel kind of
yeah.
misguided and confused. So that's why, as we discussed today in this conversation, that performance management conversations, let's make it kind of through the year conversations. It's not
Mm,
just once in half year performance review
exactly.
meeting, but it's constant conversation, constant dialogue with your employee,
Mm,
talking about where are we going, what we want to achieve together, how we are getting there, how we are measuring how we are getting there, what do we need to change in a way, what's your feedback, where we have made mistake, how do we fix it, how do we enhance it. Sometimes what I've heard last week from one of my
mhm,
clients, that when having these conversations during the week and
mhm,
empowering people to feel safe and confident to try out new things and come to have a conversation with manager, how did it work, it inspires new products or services. Because one employee has made some mistake in client service, and
mm,
client was slightly disappointed and said he needs something different than the employee offered them. And actually, from this one conversation, when they spoke it through, when they talked it through with manager, having this kind of performance conversation,
yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
really talk, then they came up with a new product or kind of new mini service for potential clients, because this kind of challenge has risen in several client
Yeah.
conversations. So,
Yeah.
they actually made an issue into opportunity. So when
Mm,
we
mm.
encourage these kind of conversations with employees, these kind of mini reviews during the week, then we can come up with new innovative ways of serving clients and offering products to our clients.
Exactly. And it comes back to when you're having those continuous conversations. We spoke earlier on about changing the language. And I find the moment you go to the why word, people become defensive and then
Mm,
they defend what they've done. So if somebody made a mistake, don't say, but why did you do that? You could
mm,
say, explain to me what was your train of thought
mm,
and what made you think that would be the best call of action. And
mm,
then they'll explain it to you. And then you can say, in hindsight, if you had to do it differently, what would you do differently?
mm,
So nowhere in that conversation do you use the why word, because the moment you use why, people feel attacked and they feel they've got to defend what position they were in.
mm. Absolutely. And this comes back to the power of language and the power of words that we are using. And sometimes
Mm,
a little word like why can make or break it.
mm,
Uh,
mm,
sometimes we need to catch ourselves and be so self-aware as managers, as leaders, what kind of words we are using in our language.
mm,
What
mm,
kind of words work and what kind of words don't work to achieve our aspirations to be best leaders that we ever can. So yeah, the power of language is so important. Also, the power of, or I call it noticing and naming tool. That
yeah.
as leaders, we constantly need to notice what our employees are doing and how,
Mm,
what
mm,
works, and give immediately, name it and give immediately feedback to our
mm,
employees. Not just hold it to ourselves or think, oh, John has done well, this and this, or Janet has
mm.
in this and this, but notice it and name it to employee, express it. As people need
Exactly.
to hear feedback and they need to hear this inspirational or empowering phrase from us that we really appreciate what they are doing or what they have done.
Exactly. And I want to switch it around as well, because I want to say for employees as well, you need to take that responsibility and also the accountability. So if your manager's giving you feedback and you don't like the way they're giving you the feedback, then tell them, because they might think you're not by you not saying anything, it's okay and they're on the right track. And they will continue giving you the feedback that way and you will continue to be unhappy. But
Mm,
unless you don't speak out and
mm,
give them feedback as to how it makes you feel the way they give you that feedback, they're not going to know. And so
mm,
it comes back to a dialogue and not a one-way conversation.
mm,
And yes, I know it can be intimidating. Oh, you're going to tell my line manager that? Oh, how are they going to react? But you don't know unless you open up that conversation.
absolutely. And I usually ask in this kind of situation when employee says, "But I'm not sure if I can do it." Then I say, "What's the worst that can happen?" And
Exactly.
they say, well, maybe manager will get angry. What's the worst that can happen? You will have a conversation, or sometimes people say, "Oh, they're gonna fire me." Well, they cannot fire you. Just
Exactly. Yeah.
have a conversation. Like
Yeah.
when you call your HR and say, "Hey, this is happening.
Yeah.
Help."
Yeah. But it comes back to that punishment mentality. And that's the behavior that we need to change.
Hmm.
And that's the way people, like you said earlier on, feel about performance feedback. So
Hmm.
we need to see how we can start making it into um, a tool that's used to give feedback, but in terms of how you're performing on the milestones that you need to deliver on. And then, secondly, from a development perspective, if you wanted to go further in your career, how is this going to help you and what do you need to do to get to the next stage?
Hmm. Absolutely. You summarized it really well. So let's stop traditional performance reviews. Let's have more
Yeah.
exciting, empowering, and inspirational ones. And let's look at the language that we are using. Let's make sure that we come with the assumption that people
Mm-hmm.
want to do their best, and we have the right mindset that we as leaders, as managers, we want to help people be their best and achieve not only our company goals, but their personal aspirations
Exactly.
as well.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And for our listeners who are listening either now or will be listening later, please, if you have any questions, then pop them under this video or PM us if you feel that you want to ask more kind of personal question. If you feel that this conversation and some insights might be helpful or useful for your friends or colleagues, please don't hesitate to share freely, and share with friends and acquaintances. As our purpose, our why is to share as much as possible our experience and our insights working in the companies previously and now with our clients, so we can help you be your personal best and achieve your goals, not goals, but milestones.
Milestones, you caught yourself there.
Yes. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for listening today, everyone who has been listening and tuning in. Thank you for listening later, and thank you for sharing and commenting. Thank you, Rihanna, for a really great conversation.
No, thank you, Inga. I always find our conversations inspiring, and then that thought comes to mind. So
yes, and we'll
see you next
week.
Yes, have a good week, you too.
Thank you. You too.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.